Well, today's Wednesday, the 27th of May, and it's going to be Wednesday, the 27th of May for nearly 48 hours in parliamentary terms, because today Parliament will go into urgency, and that will run right till about midnight on Thursday. But as normal, we'll start off with questions to ministers. The Leader of the Opposition has a second question to the Prime Minister. When she said yesterday that the government was using the tax system to get cash flow to small businesses, what did she mean by that? The question two, Kiritapu Allen to the Minister of Finance. How will Budget 2020 support employment in New Zealand? Paul Goldsmith to the Minister of Finance. How did the government arrive at the figure of $50 billion that was allocated for COVID-19 response and recovery? And a question about the tools used to assess bids for that fund. Anahira Kanogataha Suisuiki to the Minister of Housing about special measures the government's taken to ensure that vulnerable New Zealanders were supported during the crisis. Judith Collins to the Minister of Economic Development. Does he stand by his statement of the 1st of April 2020 about developing a pipeline of infrastructure projects? Chris Bishop to the Minister of Transport about Auckland Light Rail. Paul Eagle to the Associate Minister of Housing for Maori Housing about partnerships with Maori to get more whānau into warm, dry and secure housing. Michael Woodhouse to the Minister of Health about free breast screening. Marama Davidson to the Minister of Energy and Resources about insulation. The Honourable Louise Upston to the Minister of Social Development about whether the current changes will create a long-term model for the welfare system. Kieran McAnulty about getting rid of red tape for people who are building, and Shane Retty about employment programs and what's the most effective. Then we will go on to the budget debate, the second reading, and at some stage during the afternoon or evening the government will move urgency. The first matter is the COVID-19 Income Relief Payment Social Security Amendment Bill. Big mouthful. What that does is set up a new system and a different legal framework for responding with income support over the next couple of years, or until COVID is brought under control. That will go through all its stages. Then there will be the Overseas Investment Urgent Measures Amendment Bill, the second reading, committee stages, third reading in the name of David Parker. The Gas Information Disclosure and Penalties Amendment Bill, the continuation of the first reading, that's in Megan Woods' name. The Building Products and Methods, Modular Components and Other Matters Amendment Bill, the first reading in the name of the Honourable Jenny Salisa. The APEC 2021 bill in the name of the Right Honourable Winston Peters, that will have its second reading. That's around supporting security for the APEC next year. The Veteran Support Amendment Bill number 2, first reading in the name of Ron Mark. It implements some of the recommendations of the Patterson report. The first reading of the Bill of Rights Declarations of Inconsistency Amendment Bill, and it is something for to set up a system for Parliament, and it will also involve extra standing orders to consider when there's a declaration of inconsistency between legislation and the Bill of Rights. It's quite a big sort of constitutional thing. It's something for political and constitutional nerds, but it's certainly not on a fast track. The Food Continuation of Dietary Supplements Regulations Amendment Bill, first reading. That's in the name of Damien O'Connor. The second reading of the Mental Health and Wellbeing Commission Bill in the name of David Clark. The second reading of the Resource Management Amendment Bill in David Parker's name. The Public Finance Wellbeing Amendment Bill in the name of Grant Robertson. That's the bill which requires Treasury to report on wellbeing objectives in the budget. the Land Transport Rail legislation bill, the second reading in Phil Twyford's name, and the committee stages of the privacy bill in the name of Andrew Little. It comes out of the Law Commission's 2011 review into the Privacy Act. So it's a big pile of legislation. I'm pretty sure we won't get it through it all, but the government has indicated that we'll sit both tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening, which are unusual, in order to make progress. As I say, partly to get that special bit of legislation through around social security, but also to get some bills off to select committees and to make some progress for the time that was lost during the parliamentary close down over COVID.